Good morning. It is nice to be inside on this beautiful spring day. It is great to be in Kirkwood this morning, a very nostalgic place. A lot of us. I've ridden this train to Jeff City many times, Austin State Senate, and also we would bring, it seemed like, brownie troop after brownie troop after brownie troop that we would come to visit the Capitol. And it's especially important now with the, with the fourth grade history requirement, Missouri history requirement. This is high season in Jeff City for our school groups visiting your Capitol. And each and every day, I mean, we have about 70,000 students that just come through the governor's mansion, much less the rest of the building. And just really appreciate the way Kirkwood has assisted so many days. This station is owned by the city of Kirkwood and staffed by volunteers. Your work here is tremendously appreciated. It's great to be here with many members of the city council, other local officials, leaders here that will help build and run in the future. Also want to recognize Charlie Monteverde, who is representing Amtrak at this event, and Ken Mengis, the United Transportation Union. Good to see you this morning. Appreciate the work that this will be for the future. St. Louis for many years has been at the forefront of our planning for high-speed rail. Two of the leaders of that efforts were former State Senator Joan Bray and Frank Steves of Emerson Electric, who I appointed to the Midwest Interstate Passenger Rail Commission about a year and a half ago. They can't be here today, but we certainly appreciate their continued leadership on this vital issue. And I want to recognize Lindsey Watson of Emerson Electric, who is here on Frank's behalf. We appreciate the leadership of Emerson, and there's Lindsey. Now, just a few minutes ago, Amtrak's Missouri River Runner train pulled out of the station on its way west to Kansas City and cities in between, including our state capital. As fuel prices continue to rise, ridership on this route has also risen. Since last summer, this train has had an increase of 16% in its passengers, and 2 additional coach cars have been added. That's why I'm pleased to announce an exciting opportunity to enhance rail transit, create jobs, and grow Missouri's economy, an opportunity that we quite simply are just not going to let pass us by. Within the next few days, the state of Missouri will be applying for nearly $1 billion in newly available federal funding for rail projects. This application includes a 2-phase proposal. First, $373 million for immediate upgrades to improve speeds and schedule reliability along existing passenger rail lines between St. Louis and Kansas City. This portion of the proposal includes a variety of projects to make faster and even more reliable passenger train service between St. Louis and Kansas City. This will make it a reality, and at the same time create more than 1,300 jobs here in the Show Me State. If this portion of the application is granted, we will use those federal funds for significant improvements and upgrades to both rail equipment and infrastructure between our state's 2 major metro areas. Those improvements, allowing trains to travel at faster speeds than they travel currently, would complement the high-speed rail project we are already working cooperatively with our Illinois officials and friends to develop that St. Louis to Chicago line that the contract was led on just last week. The second phase of our application is a longer term in scope. $600 million for planning, engineering, and preparation work that will be necessary to construct a separate, dedicated high-speed rail line between St. Louis and Kansas City. This is an exciting prospect that also holds a lot of promise for Missouri's transportation and economic development future. Now, earlier this month, the Federal Railroad Administration announced that it would be seeking state applications for additional high-speed rail funding that has become available. Missouri is going to be aggressively pursuing this new funding. We have to file our application by April 4th, so a very short time frame turnaround. Now, last year, some of you may recall, Missouri was awarded $32 million to begin upgrades along the St. Louis to Kansas City route. The new funding that has just become available presents a tremendous opportunity to take that next step, both to fully develop service on this line and to put skilled workers on the job, planning, designing, constructing bridges, sidings, main lines, and grade crossings, among other projects. This will be a transformative step for Missouri, both immediately and in the long run, in terms of jobs and developing faster and more reliable rail service in our state. we will be moving forward aggressively with our application to enable us to take this step for transportation and economic development. In the next few days, Missouri's application will be submitted to the federal government by the Missouri Department of Transportation. Before we take questions, I'd now like to have the director of that department, who has worked with us very, very well in moving this very quick time frame here, Kevin Keith, to say a few words, and we'll be glad to take questions. Director Keith.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning.
Good morning.
Man, this is exciting, talking about transportation. You know, we support both parts of this. It gets a little scary when it has to be done and sent in April the 4th. That's not many days from here. But I think both parts are important. We're going to make some improvements to the existing lines that let us have passenger rail move faster, and improvements that are also good for freight rail. So it's good for the rail industry in Missouri, and we can do those quickly. The other part of this that's new, however, is one that's you know, sometimes you just have to think big and be bold, and Governor, appreciate your leadership here, because that's what this is. But we've come to the realization after working with UP, who's worked well with us, that if we want long-term, think of our future, our kids, our grandkids, great passenger rail service, moving at higher speeds with more frequencies, it can't happen on the existing UP lines. There's just too many freight trains that are too important. The geometry and the grades just won't take that. And so after some thinking, we've agreed that it's time to take that bold step for the future Missouri and begin, and that's really what this is. We don't have an answer to any of it yet, but begin the process to see what high-speed rail would look like in Missouri between St. Louis and Kansas City. We'll have a great application to send in on the 4th, and we'll need all of your help and support because it is an application. We don't have the money guaranteed, but we're going to support the governor and go work hard to get this. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Kevin and his team for their great leadership. I am fully confident we will be extremely competitive as we move forward. With that, I'd be glad to take any questions the press may have.
Governor, this is money available that federal Florida turned down, correct?
Right.
$2.4 billion. There are critics who say that high-speed rail is a waste of money. Can you respond to that?
We believe, as we've seen by the demand here with the increased on time, as well as the ability we have here to speed up a little bit with fuel prices going up. I mean, we're standing at the place where demand is going up. I mean, you've had to add an extra car. You've had more and more people using this. Fuel price is less and less certain. We think that rail transportation is a significant and real part of the future of moving people. Also, I mean, the secondary benefit of the first half of this it shouldn't go understated. A $373 million investment statewide in a rail corridor that carries the level of commercial and products that it does also helps us get our products to market much cheaper. It allows us to have lower energy costs. We think that, and when you look at the dollars here, I mean, and you look at the matches on the 373 side, I mean, we have got host contribution of $73 million. Federal piece would be $295, and the state piece would be only $4.5. And of the $600 we're applying for the longer term other piece, there's no state match on that. So, my God, I think that we are well positioned to efficiently and effectively spend tax dollars and try to repair, improve, and make safer what we have, while at the same time preparing a vision for the future.
Governor, can you give us an idea of the time frame for this project?
Hopefully, I mean, it's in essence two projects. I mean, we've got to have the application in by April 4th. If we're granted that, I would hope that the federal government would send signals to us within 60 to 90 days after that as to which of the projects is. From our list on the 373, we've got about 13 separate projects that kind of put that together. On the 600, that'll be a singular application, but we're hopeful that they will get to the point of redirecting these dollars in a timely fashion. I don't have that time frame now, but my best sense is we should get notice in somewhere in the 60 to 90 day.
Governor, you mentioned the
1,200 jobs that are coming in. Can you give us an idea? Are these jobs that are going to be new jobs, or are these just funded jobs that are currently
I mean, you're gonna have to, you got significant construction, when you're talking about spending this level of money. The majority of those jobs will be in construction, of what we've got, although we think by upping the capacity, I mean, when you're double tracking from, for example, from Pleasant Hill to Jeff City, you're in a situation where you can carry more, freight also, so there will be permanent jobs in the railroad side as well. When you're talking about double tracking areas, that means you can move twice as much. So we think there will be ongoing significant support jobs in the railroad industry as well.
Governor, yeah, you mentioned the 32 million in upgrades. Has that already been completed, and has it increased times between St.
That
Louis?
has not yet been completed. We're working on that. The majority of that will be a new bridge that has to go over the Osage
River?
Yeah, Osage River, where you kind of got a choke point there, which goes to one single line. But we are in the process of moving. That's something that we've been working on.
So this new funding would be for a dedicated high-speed line where the trains would not have to get off for the Union Pacific freight.
Once again, and Scott, if you give them a list of these applications, you've got one. I mean, there's two separate, I mean, it's best to think of this in two things. I mean, the first is the $373 million that will take the existing route, while not exactly the existing track. You'll double track in some areas. You're trying to get to a goal of being able to move, 290 miles an hour in those areas through those sections. That's that piece. The second piece is the $600 million, which will be the initial grant application to begin to design, define, and look at what is necessary and how we would be able to put a true high-speed rail on a separate bed, perhaps somewhere in the I-70 range or north of that. But that is all very preliminary. But this is a one-time opportunity for dollars. It's a one-time opportunity for dollars we are not going to let pass by. And it's our hope that we're going to have a very aggressive application, so that, especially when you look at the opportunities provided by what's going back in time for a second. I mean, we jumped in with Illinois on the high-speed side originally because we wanted to get that Chicago to St. Louis line. Now that has been let, and they literally let the contract last week to move that forward, it really opens us up here. Then St. Louis to Kansas City opens up directly because of that. And the $600 million was meant to address that. So it's best to think of these in kind of two separate, but both equally important pieces. Yeah.
Well, I just had a question. I know this is primarily people may be interested in passengers, but how would this dovetail in with that Chinese hub at the airport? Is that all going to be trucked if we get that?
I mean, the majority of the efforts so far in that regard have been air to attempt to, and we're still at a very relatively early phase trying to negotiate to get a designated carrier there, air carrier. I think that is a number of months and years in the future. I do think these two things are very real, very clear, very attainable, and would help commerce in the area. Obviously, we help the infrastructure and help commerce.
Governor, high-speed rail seems to have become a partisan issue with generally Republicans denigrating it and Democrats embracing it. Why do you think that has happened when you're talking about a transportation issue? Do you have any thoughts about the governors who are turning this thing?
I don't see this, I don't see it, from my chair, I don't look at this as a partisan issue. I mean, dollars that weren't available have been made available, and we have a very, very, very small amount of state resources we got to put up. I mean, $4.5 million to potentially get $1 billion as the economic steward of our state. I think it's certainly an opportunity I don't want to pass by. I'm not the governor of any other state. I don't ever want to be the governor of any other state. I don't, it's not, I'm not going to move from state to state. I don't, they can run their own deals. But whether it's partisan or not, the bottom line is, I mean, my golly, when you can get a private partner to put $73 million on the table, when you can only have to put up $4.5 million of your own dollars, when you stand to get $373 million in improvements in the very near future, that will expand not only the passenger rail, but also the movement of goods and services across the Show Me State to make us even more efficient. And at the same time, there's a one-time opportunity for $600 million to get a serious preparation for true high-speed rail across the Show Me State, which could, I think it is a transformational opportunity that I think it's very clear to me that we should move forward on. Yes, sir.
The state of Illinois took the lead 3 years ago, went from 3 trains a day to Chicago to 5, and they're all doing exceptionally well. Until we can get higher speed rail, I'd like to see greater frequency, and for seniors, mainly in our group, that would be the big advantage. So greater frequency, I would like to see as the #1 priority.
Well, I mean, we'll work, and the transportation department will work. It's one of the advantages we have here. When you go to some areas where you can double track and the crossovers and help on terminals, you're going to be in a situation where you can carry the commercial load without it dramatically or slowly affecting the passenger load. And I think it's extremely important. This process here will make all of that much more possible. I think it's important to note that one of the other parts of this application calls for getting new sets of cars. I mean, the cars here have got a lot of wear and tear on them. Be nice to get those upgraded with newer cars. It would be more efficient, would be less worn down, and made in America. So we're trying to do everything we can to create jobs. I don't disagree with you. I just say that right now this stuff is necessary in order, would have to be done before we can consider that opportunity, just because of the amount of traffic on the commercial side.
Do you know how long it will take to get from St. Louis to Kansas City with the ultimate upgrade?
I don't have that exact number. We can follow up with that. I mean, I just don't have. We can get it. I mean, that's the problem with being governor. If I say it, then everybody writes it down. And you're going to spend the rest of the day fixing it, and it's just really, Scott just goes crazy, spends the rest of the day calling you guys back and saying, yeah, well, what the governor said was off by just a smidge. But we'll get that to you. Any other questions? Thanks everybody here at Kirk. I mean, this community embraces rail traffic as well as any in our state. And we have got a great tradition. Like I say, when I was a state senator, it was very easy for me to drive up from DeSoto to park my car here, take the train up, get work done on the way, take the train up to the Capitol, work there during the day, take the train back, get work done on the way, and then get home. And I think a lot of people, and so I real fond remembrance there. The First Lady loves trains too. She's on a lot. So we think this is a really important opportunity for this region, for our state, for the economy, and we're going to move forward aggressively. Thank you all for being here.